and welcome to my first live stream of the new year. I am excited and I'm excited to see that already I have a few people who've shown up, especially since I didn't exactly say when this would be. I mentioned in a note yesterday that I have a little bit of trouble with scheduling. I am a little bit more spontaneous and tend to uh, like to go with the flow and let the spirit lead me. So I wasn't even sure what time I was going to have it at. So I'm really excited. I see Vale and Mir, Out of My Damn Mind, Hal, Gil, Mr. V. Thank you for joining. Um, so, right off, I think we will, since it is the new year, talk a little bit about the new year. And I know that everybody likes to do their New Year's posts and get their New Year's resolutions and all the New Year's, obviously, the festivities that we have. Um, so it's it's kind of a big deal, but in another sense, it isn't really or doesn't really have to be as a big deal as we make it out to be. Because for some of us, it can end up being a lot of pressure. It can cause us some anxiety because it feels like this is it. Like, here's your clean slate. You get to start over. How are you going to do it? What are your resolutions? And it can become um, kind of like a lot of the other holidays, it can become a little bit performative or even feel like we're going through the motions. Um, and it can it can be a little bit um well, kind of like with Christmas and Thanksgiving where we put all this um energy into the one single day, and then that day comes and we feel like we have to take it all in or do it all and experience it all, and then it's over and we're done with it. And in reality, that I don't think that's really how it should work. Holidays, and I touched a little bit on this in my Christmas posts about we are the reason for the season. That applies to all the holidays. We are the reason. And so if you need a clean slate in August, then you should give yourself a clean slate in August. If you want to change something about your life, if you want to build a new habit or break an old habit, you can find that resolve anytime. New Year's, just like Christmas, just like Thanksgiving, just like any of the other holidays, it is a reminder for us um, of virtues that we maybe have strayed from or not necessarily learned yet or developed in our own life. So holidays are actually a, a lesson or teaching or a reminder to us, but they shouldn't be just about one day or one season. They really are supposed to help us throughout our entire year and our entire life. So, and I just want to thank you all again who have joined in, and I appreciate the comments that I'm seeing. Uh, it's I really appreciate you all being here. Thank you. Um, so the new year is a lesson or a reminder to us that we can we could redefine ourselves at any time. We can reinvent our life. And honestly, you don't have to necessarily give yourself a clean slate. You don't have to wipe everything away. You don't have to necessarily start over. You can build on what you've already built. But we can do that at any time. We can find the resolve within us at any time to do anything. I know some of you here have done some things lately that you didn't do it on the new year. You started changing your life before the new year happened. And that's really how it should work. We shouldn't let some arbitrary date on the calendar decide our lives. Um, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the teachings of Jesus or the Bible, but I was a Christian for many years and some things still stick with me. And one of those things was in the New Testament, uh, the Pharisees, who were like the the religious leaders of that time, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and they were the ones that walked around high and mighty, telling people how they should live their lives. They often tried to trap Jesus and try and catch him up in things. And they were trying to do this by accusing him of not keeping the Sabbath day holy. So they were very, very strict about the Sabbath. You weren't allowed to do anything on the Sabbath. I mean, like, I I don't know all the rules. I don't remember all of them. You have to go back and look in, like, honestly, like, the Jewish oral histories to know them all. But they I mean, you couldn't even, like, carry certain like, carry certain things in your pockets, like, it was too much of a burden. It was everything had to be done, before the Sabbath started on Saturday night and all day Sunday. It was supposed to be this day of rest. So Jesus and his disciples were doing I think they like maybe picked a piece of corn or they did something very, you know, not wasn't that big of a deal, honestly, but to the Pharisees, it was a big deal. And they tried to accuse Jesus of not following the law and not keeping the Sabbath day holy. And Jesus told them that we aren't made for the Sabbath. We weren't made for this holy day or holiday. We weren't made for it. It was made for us. So, and just the holy day, the Sabbath was actually like a holiday every week that they had, basically. They would have to keep that day holy, just like we have our holy days or holidays, Christmas and Thanksgiving and New Year's and Easter and all these different days that we've deemed holy, or we call them holidays now. We've gotten into this kind of conundrum where we think we're made for it. Like, we need to keep it alive or something like that. When in actuality, it is created for us for whatever reason. So the Sabbath was created for us because we need rest. And if we didn't have, especially back then when people weren't as aware, if we didn't have that built in, there would be people that wouldn't rest. They would feel like they had to work all the time. And even now, we still have that where people feel guilty for resting and people feel guilty for taking breaks. That's what the Sabbath is for. Does it have to be on Sunday? No, it doesn't. I think a lot of us understand that now, that you rest when you need to rest. You can listen to yourself, listen to your body, and when you need to take rest, you do it. It's not about, oh, it's Sunday, I've got to stop everything now and not do anything. And even though there's something really important going on, nope, I can't do that. And maybe Saturday there's nothing going on, but that's not the day of rest, so I'm going to work hard. It's really kind of stupid to do that. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And that's how I see our holidays today. It's the same way with New Year's. It's the same way with Christmas. We shouldn't just be generous and kind and have goodwill towards each other on Christmas or the Christmas season. That's something we should do every day, all the time. We shouldn't just be grateful on Thanksgiving. We should be grateful all the time. So these holidays, this idea that we should focus so much and try and live up to this expectation of as if this holiday is alive and it's our master or something like we should be bowing down to it. It's ridiculous. So New Year's is not anything to cause us anxiety. It shouldn't. Those of us who don't really feel it at this time of year, you shouldn't feel bad for that. You shouldn't feel bad for feeling like you're in between. You're not ready to start everything anew. Um, there's no reason for that. You can go at your own pace, on your own schedule, you're on your own path, and you should listen to yourself, not the calendar, not what we as society have deemed as the day that we should all now celebrate this holiday. So I firmly believe that I mean holidays are great and celebration is great, but when it starts to cause us this, anxiety or it makes us feel this pressure to perform, it's lost its reason. I mean, it doesn't make any sense now, just like what I was saying earlier with the Sabbath, and Jesus was trying to point this out all those years ago that the Sabbath was made for us. So New Year's was made for us. Christmas was made for us. These things were created for our benefit, for us to learn. They weren't created for us to uphold them. Like this idea that a few years ago, there's a war on Christmas. Christmas is not an a person or an entity or there's no we're not at war with it. It's just that not everybody feels like they want to celebrate it or celebrate it the same way, or so there's so many different people in this world. There's so many different ways and so many different thoughts that to try and make this uniformity, especially when it comes to holidays, is silly in my opinion. So I want to hopefully relieve some of that pressure, and there's no reason to go through motions because it's a certain day. If you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it, and that's okay. Um I stopped making resolutions. I don't even remember the last time I made a resolution. I started realizing that it was silly. I make resolutions when I resolve throughout the year that I want to change something, that I want to create a new habit, that I want to break an old habit. And I don't need to wait for New Year's to do that. I can do that anytime. Um, you can follow your intuition. You can listen to your higher self. You can, however you relate to yourself and the world around you, you're allowed to do it the way you feel best. You are the master of your life. You are the one that gets to decide these things. So, um, I want to thank those of you who have joined recently. Thank you for tuning in. Again, I'm very pleased to see uh, so many of you have shown up when I didn't exactly announce this. Like I was saying earlier, I have a tendency to be a little bit more spontaneous and I don't necessarily like to lock myself in because kind of like what I was just saying about holidays, I like to let my intuition lead me, and it's going to be better if I'm listening to myself as opposed to a schedule I set for myself. So, not that I won't ever schedule lives, but I I kinda like the impromptu thing. It so far, it seems to work for me, and, um, so that's kinda what I'm going with. Uh, so again, just to recap, I want us to relax when it comes to New Year's and relax when it comes to the holidays. There's no need to feel like you're doing something wrong because you don't know what your vision is for 2026 yet. I mean, some people, they're on that. I mean, they're all about that, and that's awesome, you know? But some of us, we come up with our vision in when it hits us, and that might be in, you know, September. It's just it it doesn't really matter because we're not all, uniform. We're not all doing this. There's no like race. There's no we need to have this finished by this certain time. We don't have to follow a certain pattern, or our our life has seasons just like nature has seasons, and they aren't determined by a calendar. They're determined by you. They're determined by uh your choices and actions and what's led you to where you are right now. And so take a breath and relax if you don't know what 2026 is going to, you know, have in store for you yet. That's okay. I mean none of us really do. We just have our visions and our intent, and we're you know we're just going along for the ride for the most part. We we don't have to feel stressed about what we should be doing and what we should be resolving, and so it's okay if you haven't got it all figured out yet. None of us have it all figured out, even those who have all their resolutions in place and have their vision board and have, their calendar mapped out. That they don't have it all figured out either. Because we don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. So, it's better to, well, I shouldn't say better, but if you are like me or like so many others, go ahead and just live your life and allow yourself to be led by your intuition, or whatever, God or the universe or however you relate to that. Let that tell you when and where and how, not because some ball dropped. So, uh, now I think I'm going to move on to another topic, and I would like to talk a little bit about the present moment. Um, I've noticed, and I'm sure you maybe have noticed, that it's not always easy to be in the present moment. In fact, some of us go through a large part of our life. Maybe even right now, it's never even occurred to you to be in the present moment, to be in the now. You've just been being pushed along by whatever momentum in your life, and you're just always moving, and you're always focused, and um but then at some point through, for me it was a spiritual experience that I started to become aware of the present moment. Others will read in books, or hear about it on a YouTube video, or whatever, this idea of the present moment or being in the now. And as soon as you become aware of this, you'll also become aware that it can be difficult, which when you think about it, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't seem like it should be that hard to be here right now, because we are here right now. We're here right now. And yet, even though we're here right now, a lot of the time, our thoughts, our mind isn't here right now. Our presence isn't here right now. It's somewhere else. It's in the past, dwelling on the past, or maybe in the future, just focused on, what can be and moving towards that. We might be just in our thoughts, thinking about various things, just the inner dialogue that just goes and goes and goes, um, instead of really being here in the present moment and being aware of what's happening right now. So, I've noticed that even I mean, it makes sense to a degree that and yes, Chris, thank you for joining. Learning to be present is huge. It is. It's a game changer. And I've noticed that there's reasons why some of us might not want to be in the present moment. Some of us run from the present moment because of pain, because maybe we don't like who we are. We haven't faced who we are. Maybe our mm, we might have struggles, trauma. There's various reasons why some of us run from the present moment. And it can be simple, like things the way we run. It could just be like we just scroll on social media, and and that we don't have to deal with any of that. We just, it could be something like that. Or we're constantly like working or consumed by entertainment, or um there's many different ways to get out of being in the present moment. But some of us do other things that are even detrimental, like we drink away the present moment. Maybe we use substances to dull the present moment or try and run from the present moment. And I'm not getting into if those things are bad or good. Just because you're using those things doesn't mean you're trying to escape. You can use, some people are are able to partake of, alcohol or substances um, in a way that isn't an escape. It's more of a, something that is adding to their life. But when they do that, those people who are able to do that usually do it at a very minimal amount. It's not they're not doing this daily. They're not doing it, all the time. It's something that they do once in a while. So, generally, if generally, like, somebody who becomes addicted to a substance, it's because they are running from something. Those who can be more disciplined with it or moderate with it's usually because they're not using it to run from something. They're not using it to cover something. And so we don't see that a lot, though. Honestly, we see people who um, are using it to numb or dull what's going on inside of them, to escape their life in some way. And so that's like the one extreme of escaping the present moment. But then there's just huge amounts of us who aren't doing necessarily anything detrimental. It might simply just be constantly keeping yourself engaged in something. And even when you're doing an activity, you're not really there with the activity. You're like somewhere else in your mind, and you're not actually embracing what's happening in your life. And when you aren't doing that, you're missing what's happening in your life. You're not actually experiencing or getting to take it all in. You're missing a lot of the magic, honestly, because you're somewhere else in your head instead of where you are right now. And sometimes this doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, one of the big things that most of us here can probably relate to is being in the presence of somebody that you care about, somebody that you love, somebody that means something to you, and either you or them are not actually in it. For some reason, even though you love your kids or you know, your spouse or your boyfriend or girlfriend or your friends or whoever, you find yourself actually scrolling on social media or writing your next post or um, getting distracted by i- some other form of entertainment or getting distracted by what you're thinking about, your plans for your future, instead of being there with them, instead of giving them your full attention, you find yourself escaping that. And it doesn't make a lot of sense. Why would we want to do that? But yet there seems to be this natural aversion to what's happening right now. And I can say I don't totally understand it, but I've definitely observed it. This natural aversion to right now. Whatever it is. I mean, you could be having like one of the most exciting times of your life and still finding yourself wanting to like pull away for some reason. Um one of the things I've noticed, for instance, that I think most of us can probably relate to is eating. So, a lot of us would agree that we enjoy food, we enjoy eating. It's something that we like. I mean, it's built into our societies as an entertainment. We go out to eat. I mean, we get takeout and bring it home. We we eat popcorn while we go to the movies. And so we like food, but at the same time, we won't give it our full attention. And how many of you will actually just eat your food? How many of you will sit down and eat and pay attention to yourself eating and the food itself and how it tastes and what, all of it? How many of you are doing that and not also on your phone scrolling or watching some video or reading a post or reading a book or watching TV or watching a movie or, there's all these different things that we do and and it's like we think that that's means we're enjoying it or something, but if we enjoy it, why aren't we actually enjoying it? Why are we doing something else at the same time? And I understand with certain things because somehow we've been conditioned to think that certain things aren't that great, like washing dishes for some reason. I am the first to admit that I've definitely these mundane tasks that we do all the time, for some reason we've kind of been conditioned or there's a voice that tells us we don't want to do that. And so when we do those things, we want to do something else. Like we want something else happening so that we don't have to like actually experience it. And I want to encourage you, and this is something that I daily working on in my own life. I have been for a long time because it is a practice. It is something that doesn't necessarily come easy to us, is to be present with even the mundane tasks. So it's, very, very, in my opinion, important to try to be present with people, um, and not allow ourselves to, scroll our lives away or scroll our time away with those that we love. Like Crispy said, scrolling, it's it can be an addiction. Um, and like he's saying, when you go to a concert, and Kevin actually talked about this in a post recently, going to a concert and how everybody's taking videos. And I have used to struggle with this. I was a photographer years ago, and I started constantly photographing everything, and instead of actually experiencing it, I was always like taking photos, and I wasn't actually there. And that was one of the first places I started realizing about the present moment. I started realizing I was like missing out on a lot of my life because I was photographing it instead of being there in it. And there's nothing, I'm not saying you should never photograph anything. I'm not saying you shouldn't ever take a video or that you shouldn't ever scroll social media. I'm just saying everything has its place and time, and you can be addicted to anything, but do you want to be addicted to anything? Do you want something to master you? Do you want to feel like you're not whole unless you're doing that thing? Wouldn't it be wonderful if you could feel alive while you were washing dishes? Wouldn't that be like amazing if you could feel alive while you were doing a mundane task like laundry? And I'm gonna tell you, you can, and it's all about tapping into the present moment. And being here right now is where not only the magic is, not only where your life actually is happening, but it's where your power is at too. You can only you only have power to do anything right now. It's not in your past or your future. It's not while you're, you know, uh, watching some video or watching a movie. And again, I'm not saying anything, these things are bad. I'm just saying maybe we should be more intentional about it. If you're going to watch a movie, watch a movie. If you're going to scroll on social media, scroll on social media, but then be done with that. Give yourself that time, but then when you're doing something else, do something else. Try and give yourself the space and time to experience what you're doing, what's happening to the fullest. And you can't really do that when you're, distracted and allowing yourself to run from whatever it is that you want to do. And the thing is, when you're at a concert, don't you really want to be there? Weren't you excited about being there? Didn't you pay a lot of money to be there? So why aren't you actually being there? And don't you love the people in your life? Don't you actually love them? So why aren't you cherishing that time with them when you have it? And these are not judgments. These are all things that I've asked myself, that I wrestle with myself, that I'm constantly trying to bring myself back to being here right now. Um, every I've written a post about this a while ago about attention being currency, and how I realized with my son that one time he was, and this happened a bunch of times before I actually realized it. He was talking to me, and he was sharing something that was special to him with me. And then afterwards, I realized because I had been online, I think I was writing at the time. I didn't know really what he had said. I missed all of it. And then I was like, I just missed that. Why would why would I trade this time with him for that? I can do that when we're done. I can do that at a better time. And a lot of what I'm saying, there's an element of trust involved, trusting that things that timing will work out, um that timing is divine in a sense, so that we want to have everything scheduled, and we want to be like, well, this I'm doing this right now, and kind of look at something as like invading your time, or that's happening right now. What's happening right now is happening right now. So give it your time, and you can always go back to that other thing later. Take take stock of what's going on, and give it your attention. Um, you'll you'll actually realize that you have a better memory about things. A lot of us are like, "How come I don't remember what happened?" You'll hear people say, "I don't remember what I ate yesterday," because you weren't paying attention, and all it takes is us to start paying attention and being in the present moment. And I make it sound easy when I said that just now. It's not easy. It takes practice, but it's worth it. And I want to encourage you to challenge yourself to be present. Some good ways, like I already mentioned, being present with the people who are in your life when they're there in your presence. So when people are in your presence, be present with them. Don't spend that time, escaping into the internet or work or other activities. Be with them. Um, I also would challenge you to try and be in the present moment with mundane tasks. Maybe when you're doing something that you don't actually think is fun or that you don't actually want to do, try and be there in it anyway. Try and pay attention to it, and you might find out that there actually is something magical in the present moment, even while you're washing dishes or doing laundry or getting dressed or taking a shower. And um, I'll tell you this as somebody who has experienced some, you know, difficult times where I couldn't do those things. There was a time in my life where showers were rare, and being able to cook for myself was rare. Being able to cook was rare. I didn't have dishes to wash. I didn't have laundry to do. And that puts it all in a whole new light, because you realize how much you appreciate being able to have that agency and that sovereignty in your life. So, again, I encourage you to challenge yourself to be with the activities that you're doing, be with your life when it's happening. Um, Try when you're eating to actually pay attention to your food. Um, you could even make it into an activity, the next time you eat, like just eat one thing. It could be maybe something like an orange or a piece of chocolate, and really, spend time with it, tasting it, smelling it. How does it actually feel in your mouth? What is it making you, think of? What's it doing to you? And instead of watching, video on YouTube or scrolling Substack, instead spend time with this food that we supposedly love so much, that many of us think we love it too much. Well, actually enjoy it then, actually get the most out of it then. Um, so I think that right now would be a good time if you're, if you're here with me right now to let's spend some time together in the present moment. And one thing I want to point out really quickly is that there are practices that help us with this, such as meditation, um, you know, finding stillness, going on, nature walks, spending time in nature. These things can help us practice being in the present moment. But present moment awareness is a practice in itself. So just like in certain types of meditation where if where you're focusing on one thing in meditation, sometimes a lot of times it's your breath. Other times it might be an affirmation or maybe the sensations in your body, whatever. There's this focus that you're focused on through the meditation. And when you find yourself going away in your thoughts and getting distracted by that, you gently bring yourself back to your point of focus. And again, I want to say that's not the only way to meditate, but that is a common way and one that many of us are familiar with. This bringing ourselves back to our point of focus, that's kind of the whole thing with present moment awareness. So when you go throughout your life and you realize, oh, I'm not in the present moment, oh, I'm not even right here right now, you just gently bring yourself back to the present moment. You suddenly realize you're not paying attention to what your kid or whoever you're with, you're not paying attention to them. You're not actually there. You're in your thoughts or you're online or you're planning your next post or whatever you're doing instead. Realize it and bring yourself back to the present moment and start listening. And sometimes it's just you're planning the next thing you're going to say instead of listening. And that's a whole, that's a whole thing for some people is learning how to listen and be there in the present moment instead of in the future with what they're going to say next, and learning how to just trust that you'll know what to say, and instead you can give that person your full attention while they're talking. So right now, I like, as some of you know, to you know, do a few minutes of meditation or finding stillness on my live streams. I think it's one of the best ways to learn is to uh, be around it and just experience it, instead of necessarily getting instruction on it. So right now, let's take a few minutes and let's spend some time here in the present moment together. If you find yourself wanting to escape, if you find yourself wanting to, you know, think about something else, that's okay. That is not, you know, that's not abnormal. Just gently bring yourself back to right now and allow yourself to observe whatever is happening right now, whatever is going on, whatever, hear the sounds, smell the smells, feel the temperature, um, and observe yourself, whatever's happening. So you can take some deep breaths. You can turn it into kind of a meditation, or you can just sit there and look around the room that you're in and pay attention to it and see the room you're in, maybe for the first time, or maybe how you've never seen it before. Pay attention to it. Listen to right now I can hear, the wind blowing outside and the chimes, and maybe tune in to the noises around you, the hums, you'll find that silence isn't really as quiet as you thought when you do this. So I'm going to be quiet now so that we can spend some time right now in the present moment. Be here right now. Some of you may even be able to tap into the sound, what I call the sound of the spirit. It's this it's a sound almost inside of you that you can hear, and when you tap into that, it actually can help you relax into the present moment even more. If you feel like it, you can place your hands on your heart. Remember that the present moment is all that we have, even though you might find some aversion to it. It might feel a little scary, but there's nothing to be afraid of. In fact, the more you stick with it, the more you'll find that there's joy and power underneath the aversion. Some of you might find that you want to take out a pen and paper and actually write down some of your thoughts and feelings that come up when you do this, and that can help you work through some of your aversion, some of the anxiety that might come with it. All right. I don't want to overwhelm you with this right now, but I want to encourage you to, if you'd like, to continue this after we end this, you can spend some more time in the present moment. You can always come back to the present moment. I want to thank everybody who has joined me today and everybody who stayed here till the end. I appreciate you all so much. I am so grateful for you being here. And if you have any, if this brought up anything for you, if you have any questions or want to talk about it, my DMs, you can DM me anytime. Um, and I just want you all to know how much love in my heart that I have for you guys. I am always rooting for you guys, and I know the world around us, especially here in the United States, here recently, the past couple days, and all so many places in our world, things can cause us turmoil and questioning, and it's hard to find peace sometimes. And I want you all to know that my Substack friends and family, I'm always thinking of you guys and s- sending out, positive energy towards you guys. And I know it's difficult sometimes, but coming back to the present moment and cultivating energy and love and peace in the present moment is key to being able to navigate our world. And if we want to see change in our outer world, we have to change our inner world. And right now we're seeing a lot of, certain people's inner reality is manifesting in a negative way in our outer reality, but that is only so we can see it's there and face it and heal it. So it feels like it's a bad thing, but ultimately it's a good thing because this is how the collective heals. And just like they can affect the outer reality, so can you. And that's by changing your inner reality. So when you cultivate peace and joy and love and kindness within you, that's going to eventually manifest and reflect in your outer reality. And we will see the collective outer reality change as we all do that. I want to encourage you not to let it cause you to join it, to start feeling that way. Keep your spirits up in a sense. I mean, don't bypass yourself, allow yourself to feel, but ultimately cultivate the feelings and what you want to see out there. Cultivate that within you because that is how you change your world and how we change the world is by doing that. So, thank you all. And I am, just again, I appreciate you all so much. Thank you for being here. And I will see you next time.